let's begin our session with Kitab Al-Fatiha. Okay, first of all, before we begin, I would like to again apologize for having to readjust the session so many times. Has been quite a busy few days. And I've just done part of my round. I'm still gonna do rounds again after this. Okay, all right. So the lecture we're gonna have today is about nutrition and growth. As you see, there's only 25 slides, so don't worry, it won't be a very long session. But I want to highlight some of the few important aspects of nutrition and having good growth, especially for children. Okay, so as Allah mentioned in Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 168, Ya ayuhan nasu kullu mimma fil ardi halalan tayyiba wa la tattabi'u khutuwati syaitan innahu lakum aduwwun mubin. O mankind, eat of that which is lawful halalan and good on earth tayyiban, and follow not the footsteps of shaitan, verily he is to you an open enemy. Okay, so the thing that we always I think especially in Malaysia, we focus too much on, yes, which is very true as well, we do need to focus on the halal aspect of everything, but we need to remember the aspect of tayyiban. So halal, yes, is very important. It is essential. It is very important to make sure that whatever we eat, whatever goes into our mouth is halal. But another aspect that we always forget is the aspect of tayyiban. So tayyiban means something that is good, and tayyib, it is a very general and very it encompasses so many aspects. So tayyib should also mean that it is nutritionally adequate. So makanan seimbang. So it should be good, it should be beneficial to you and for your growth and for your nutrition. So this is among the elements of tayyiban that we always forget. And then in Surah Al-Ma'idah, Allah mentioned وَكُلُوا مِمَّا رَزَقَكُمُ اللَّهُ حَلَالًا طَيِّبًا وَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ الَّذِي أَنْتُمْ بِهِ مُؤْمِنُونَ. So again, Allah mentioned so many times, whenever Allah mentioned that we need to eat something that is halal, Allah always tag halal with tayyib. So it shows that goodness is actually as important as it being halal. Goodness is as important as it being halal. So it needs to be nutritionally adequate. It should not have any harm, because we remember the maqasid syar'iyah, the qawaid fiqhiyah, the kaedah fiqh, qawaid fiqhiyah, al-aslu fil al-aslu fil al-aslu fil manafi' al-ibahah. The origin, the hukum asal, everything that is beneficial is al-ibahah, it is permissible. And origin of everything that causes harm is al-mamnu. So everything that is the origin of it causes harm, it is not permissible. It's the same as al-ibadah. Al-aslu fil ibadah al-mamnu. And the origin, the original hukum of something that is involving ibadah, the original hukum is actually al-mamnu, is not permissible. So this is one thing that we need to remember. And another aspect that, especially in IUM, we are focusing so much on this is actually the SDGs, Sustainable Developmental Goals. If you see, IUM is among the institutions in Malaysia that has been spending a lot of time, effort, and money in terms of going forward this Sustainable Developmental Goal from the UN. So, so issues about nutrition and growth, it covers several aspects of the 17 goals for SDG. Okay, among them is the first, second goal, second SDG goal, which is zero hunger. So the aim, the aim is actually to end hunger, achieve food security, and improve nutrition and promote sustainable agriculture. So this is among the aim. So if we see from the data from UN, so that 21% of children under 5 are stunted in terms of their growth, and 6.9% of children under 5, the whole wide world, is affected by wasting. So nutritionally, they are malnourished as well. So malnourishment is an issue not just in third world country, in Africa, and so on and so forth, but also in developing countries such as Malaysia. And also the item number 3 on SDG, which is good health and well-being. So ensure healthy lives and promote well-being for all at all ages. So there should be a stress in terms of catering for people's health and life, and it should be across all ages. It should be across all ages. So hundreds of thousands additional under 5 deaths expected in 2020. So because there's a lot of so because we expect the number to increase, but this is what the aim is to reduce the number of under 5 death. So in Malaysia, all cases of death of children under 5, dia akan ada meeting at district level, state level, and also national level. So we go through all the cases of death of children under 5. Okay, so WHO in the year 2000, WHO Nutrition and Health Progress Report in year 2000 mentioned that nutrition is the cornerstone of health and development. So nutrition is the fundamental pillar of human life, health, and development. Because without adequate nutrition, a human being cannot have a good life, cannot have a good health, and won't be developing well. And from birth through infancy, childhood, adolescence, and adulthood, and old age, proper food and good nutrition are essential for survival, physical growth, mental development, performance, productivity, health, and well-being. So especially at the importance of having good nutrition is not just after birth, even masa throughout pregnancy, not just throughout pregnancy, even before being pregnant also, having good nutrition is very important. So we know, for example, mothers who are trying to get pregnant, they should control their blood sugar 3 months before trying to get pregnant. They should take supplements. They should take iron supplements. They should take B12 supplements 3 months before trying to get pregnant. And then masa pregnancy pun, we know so many there are diseases that are associated with malnourishment of mothers during pregnancy. So having good nutrition is actually essential, because can you imagine if we have one child that has a significant neurological problem just because of undernourishment, and how much does it affect? So it affects the child from someone that can achieve so many things, dia tak boleh achieve banyak benda, neurologically damaged, for example, kan? Child too affected, and when the child is affected, it is not just the child, family pun affected, kan? I have a patient sekarang dah, I think dah 7 years old already, kan? This child this child has cerebral palsy lah, but then the issue is, it's not just about the child. Bila satu children dapat cerebral palsy, for example, the one that is affected is not just the child, the whole family, the community, the hospital, everyone is affected as well. Child tu, dia dah tak boleh pergi mana, dia tak boleh, cerebral palsy, they can't achieve that much, they are affected, kan? Dia tak boleh, even the child need help in everything. Dia tak boleh even the child is not mobile, tak boleh nak gerak, tak boleh nak makan, tak boleh nak everything needs help, needs full help for everything, this child. Bukan setakat itu, the family is affected as well, because this child, each time dia masuk ward, dia will stay in the ward for 2 to 3 weeks, and then dia balik rumah 1-2 minggu, and then re-admitted again for another reason, viral pneumonia, problem with feeding, so on and so forth. So admitted 2-3 weeks, discharge home 1 to 2 weeks, re-admitted again 2 to 3 weeks. Sometimes prolonged admission for few months admission in the ward. So each time masuk kat ward, mother akan stay with this child. So what's going to happen to the other children? The other children won't get enough care from the mother because the mother is now too focused on this one sick child. Kan? Macam mana adik-beradik dia yang lain will feel? Kita when we don't have someone with this problem, kita kata okay lah, bersabarlah, kita sihat apa semua kan. But as a child, can you imagine when you don't see your mother because your mother has to focus too much her time and effort on your sick sibling. So this is a huge problem. Kan? And then husband dia macam mana? Father dia macam mana? Father pun tak jumpa wife sebab wife tak ada, wife sibuk masuk hospital jaga. How is the father going to work? Nak kerja sikit, anak seorang masuk ward, mak kena jaga anak yang masuk ward. Anak-anak yang lain siapa nak jaga? Father kena jaga. So father pun banyak miss work dan sebagainya. So father affected. Workplace father pun affected. Sebab apa? Sebab macam mana nak bagi kerja dengan okay, kalau kejap-kejap this personnel ni kejap-kejap nak kena ambil sick leave sebab jaga anak. Kejap-kejap nak kena ambil sick leave jaga anak dan sebagainya. So it affects so many things. It affects the government as well because the cost, this child has OKU card. So everything we do for this child is subsidized by the government. And we don't do, we do a lot for this child, thousands. So the cost for the government is huge as well. So when we have one sick child, it affects the whole community. It affects the child, it affects the family, it affects the individual, it affects the community, it affects the government. So huge issue. That is why having good nutrition is very, very important. Good nutrition is a human right. So it is not just it is having good nutrition, making sure that everyone has good nutrition is a right. Everyone has the right to a standard of living adequate for the health and well-being of himself and his family, including food. This is under Universal Declaration of Human Rights, Article 25. Constitution of WHO in 1948 mentions that improvement of nutrition is among the specific ways that WHO can achieve its objective, which is the attainment by all peoples of the highest possible level of health. So we need to reach the highest possible level of health. And then recognizes the right of everyone to an adequate standard of living for himself and his family, including adequate food, clothing, and housing. So internationally, having good, proper nutrition and access to health is paramount. Is paramount. And we see as well, like Malaysia, we think Malaysia is okay, but we have so many problems as well. We are seeing that now in Sabah, for example. Kenapa Sabah, Sarawak is peculiar? Sebab dia ada banyak, satu, the access from people, pendatang asing tanpa izin, undocumented immigrants is easy because they can just cross the border. Dia tak ada satu wall ke, tak ada apa-apa pagar, tak ada apa-apa anything, so they can cross the border much easily. That's one thing. The other thing is in Sabah itself we have the bajau laut. Bajau laut are people who are actually have been living there in generation. Dia dah generation dah dekat situ. Area itu dalam area Sabah, kan? But apa, dia memang the whole community tu dia tak pernah ada pasport, tak pernah di-declare sebagai warga negara Malaysia. So these people are stateless people. They don't belong to Malaysia, they don't belong to Indonesia. They are stateless. They don't have any documentation with them. They don't have any documents with them. They don't go to school, they don't go to anything. So these people are affected. How can they get access to healthcare? So if they get COVID, like what they are having now, so giving them access to healthcare is very difficult. It's very difficult. So Sabah is very peculiar. And some more bila ada movement, sebab dia dalam community yang dia bukan macam ada border macam Malaysia Thailand, macam Malaysia Singapore. So they move easily. Ada family yang duduk betul-betul dekat border. So they mix around. So the citizenship is vague, for example. So there's a lot of issue with Sabah, and this is what we are seeing now. Okay, back to Malaysia. This is the I'm sorry, I'm still a bit unwell actually. So this is the National Health and Mobility Survey for Malaysia in 2019. So what did it find? So in NHMS 2019, it says that 50% of adults are overweight or obese. So basically 30% overweight and almost 20% is obese. So how many of medical students, how many of your batch actually belongs to this group? 52% of adults have abdominal obesity. It says that the trend of obesity in Malaysia is increasing from 2011, 2015, and the latest on 2019. So the number is increasing. Not just in adults, in children as well. Almost 30% of children 5 to 17 years of age are overweight, of which 15% overweight and obese, another almost 15% as well. So it's a huge number of children actually overweight and obese, and this number is actually increasing by year as well. And you see more children who are obese nowadays. 22% of children under 5 years of age are stunted in terms of their punya growth. Growth stunted, increased from 2011 and 2015. So we are not just championing in terms of obesity, we are championing in terms of stunted as well. Kita orang Malaysia dah lah pendek-pendek lah ke, kan? Now we are more stunted, dah lah pendek, pendek lagi semua kan. So we are not growing, not just in terms of we are not growing, not just politically kan. Malaysia we are stunted in almost in every aspect. This is a problem. We used to champion in terms of COVID management. Now we are stunted, so we are getting stunted right, left, front, back. So and 30% of women in reproductive age are anemic. So these are all associated with nutrition. These are all associated with nutrition. This is the problem with nutrition. NHMS 2019 again, this is National Health and Mobility Survey, which is published in 2019. 25% of adults are physically inactive. Reduction. So we are getting more physically inactive. Despite lebih ramai orang main basikal, lebih ramai orang ada gym membership, but generally in Malaysia, more number of Malaysians are physically inactive, couch potatoes. We are more of us are actually becoming less and less active. 95% of adults do not consume recommended adequate fruits and vegetables of 5 servings per day. I think probably medical students, I would say 96%, 97% do not consume recommended adequate fruits and vegetables. You know why? Among the problem is healthy food is expensive. Healthy food is expensive. It doesn't make sense. Something that is good, it should be cheaper and more accessible. But the healthier the food, the more expensive it becomes. The more the food is unhealthy, the cheaper it becomes. I don't know lah. I think this is a problem. How come Coca-Cola is cheaper than mineral water? Can you understand? Mineral water ni dia just ambil daripada bukit mana-mana, you ambil air tu, you bottle kan, air gau ke apa kan. But it is more expensive daripada Coca-Cola. A drink that is being processed, you put something in, you carbonated, recipe pun secret, kan? But even that is cheaper daripada mineral water. I seriously don't understand. I think this is a huge problem. Actually, there's several suggestions before pun. Contohnya addition of sin tax. Sin tax ni maknanya tax on something that is bad. Maknanya contohnya sugar. Sugary drinks should have an extra tax. But the problem is it's going to increase prices of everything else. So we need to think of ways how to reduce the price of essential and good items as well. Mineral water, for example. Drinking water, the price should be reduced. I remember one of the thing that Recep Tayyip Erdogan, when he was the mayor of Istanbul. When he was the mayor of Istanbul, he noted the problem was drinking water in Istanbul is expensive as compared to, like I said, like carbonated drinks. So drinking water, he said it doesn't make sense. Drinking water, it is an essential item, kan? Having good drinking water, because people, okay, if you live in Europe, if you live in not Europe lah, if you live in UK, for example, if you live in United States, tap water is drinkable. You boleh drink direct from the tap. Not the whole UK lah, not in London definitely, but if you live in Scotland, if you live in Ireland, so tap water is drinkable. It is good. Drinking tap water, air daripada pipe tu, you boleh drink direct from air pipe tu because it's clean, it's healthy, it's okay. But still, but if you live in southern UK, in London, so the tap water tastes a bit payau sikit rasa dia. So we usually buy drinking water. Drinking water is still expensive. So Erdogan said it doesn't make sense when you have carbonated drinks which are cheaper than drinking water. So drinking water is an essential item. He don't understand why it's more expensive. So what he did was he one of his measures, which is good at that particular time, is he under the Istanbul municipality, he dia buat kilang. So kilang under yang perbandaran Istanbul tu produce drinking water. So drinking water and mineral water produced and sold by the municipality. So majlis perbandaran dia yang jual. Ada kilang sendiri, ada distributor sendiri. So you know when it's owned by the state, you can sell it at a subsidized price. Kan? Easily accessible. So what happens bila state tu sendiri produce that drinking water and mineral water, what happens is competitor yang lain tu terpaksa reduce the price. Sebab this cheap, accessible drinking water is available. So nak tak nak, competitors yang lain, company lain terpaksa reducekan the price. So this is what he did lah. So finally the drinking water price for drinking water in Istanbul drops to very low price. Sebab dia ada intervention from the, so kita nak kena maintain free market kan. So free market, the price is determined by buyers, by the market. So state does not control the price. Tapi what the state can do is, state can do macam Istanbul, macam Erdogan buat lah masa dia mayor of Istanbul ni. So dia produce sendiri, which is low price, which causes all the market price to be reduced. So itu yang antara kita. Tapi the problem in Malaysia, sometimes we have a time. Dulu, sekarang tak. Dulu even petrol is cheaper daripada mineral water. It doesn't make sense kan? Petrol, you nak isi minyak, petrol is cheaper daripada air mineral. It doesn't make sense. Sekarang dah okey lah harga dia. Kan? Tapi it doesn't make sense. Okay, enough rambling. Okay, so and then it mentioned that 21% of adults are current smokers. 11.8% are current alcohol drinkers. Proportion of binge drinkers among current drinkers are 45%. So this is Malaysian data. This is Malaysian data. 2.3% of adults have depression, while 7.9% of children 5 to 15 years of age were found to have mental health problem. 8% of children having mental health problem. What is happening to our people now? Mainly due to poor interaction with peers. My wife works in a klinik kesihatan in Kuantan. She said for the past 1 year, every week she's seeing many children, school-age children, coming to her clinic complaining of stress, complaining of being depressed. School-age children going to government clinic, complaining of feeling depressed. Some of them even suicidal. This is bad. This is bad. If you there's a good documentary in Netflix, The Social Dilemma. Nama documentary is The Social Dilemma. I shared it also in my Facebook. So it stresses about the problem with current social media. So among the issues they highlight is like uh, when we see, because now people don't read newspapers, so most people get their news from social media. So the thing is, when we look at social media, so we make assumption that this is what the feeling, or this is what the understanding, this is what the climate of whole world. But what we forget is that there's a artificial intelligence, there's a algorithm that controls what we see in social media. We don't see everything. We see the thing that we like. So for example, even if what we see is according to our political liking. So if you are leftist, what you see in social media are all issues that lefts like. If you are rightist, you'll see what the right likes to see, and you assume that as the general assumption, general feeling of the whole world, despite that is your cocoon. You're not going out of your cocoon, kan? If you're PAS supporter, you will only see PAS punya issue, kan? If you are Amanah, if you are UMNO and everything, you will only see that small group, kan? If you memang tak minat politik, you minat shopping je, kan? You will only see those things because that is your cocoon, kan? And then we assume that as the truth. That is the problem. And the other issue that they highlighted is the issue with bullying. So before uh, I don't know your time lah. I don't know your time because during handphones, I think I got a handphone only when I joined UIA. That was in the year 2000. Before that, no one can afford having handphones. And before that, no one can afford having handphone. My father's first handphone, he was a bank manager. His first handphone was expensive, bloody damn expensive, and it's huge. How big, eh? I think it's like this big, this thick, like that. Macam botol air besar tu. It's huge. It's damn expensive. Dia kena briefcase. The phone is in a briefcase by itself. Okay, kan? So the thing is, previously, if a child is being bullied, they are bullied at school. Kenapa duk keluar ni? Nampak PlayStation ni benda kat. Don't understand. Okay, fine. So if you're being bullied physically. So bullying previously it used to be a physical bullying, kat sekolah kena bully bla 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 semua kan. But nowadays the number of cases of physical bullying is actually reducing in trend. But what happens is the bullying happens in social media. The bullying happens in social media. People are trolling each other, school children are trolling each other. Budak-budak sekarang ni tak guna Facebook. Facebook ni is for old people. Kan? Facebook is for old people. Younger generation dia guna apa? TikTok, WhatsApp ke, kan? Sometimes social incarceration. Kan? You pulau people, you bukan pulau dalam, bukannya style macam dulu, zaman dulu pulau ni you don't talk to each other, you don't duduk dalam klik, kan? Sekarang ni pulau apa? You buat WhatsApp group, tak invite seorang ni. Kan? I have children complaining, dia rasa isolated, dia rasa dipulaukan. Sebab apa? Sebab member-member dia ada WhatsApp group, tak invite dia. Kan? So children are being stressed out because of this sort of things. So the ways how people are being bullied is by this. So buat social media tak invite. One of my wife's patient complain, dia kata she felt he felt stressed, he felt being left out. Why? Sebab dia kata whenever he's with his friend, dia ada group kawan-kawan dia, tapi dia rasa macam dia tak boleh masuk dengan discussion kawan-kawan dia. Sebab kawan-kawan dia suka main game apa, Apex Legend ke apa something. Ada game ni lah, I don't know as well. Kan? So member dia discuss pasal Apex tu and dia tak faham. So dia tak suka main game. So dia rasa depressed up to almost suicidal just because dia ada kawan, tapi dengan kawan-kawan dia tak boleh masuk dengan kawan dia sebab dia tak faham apa kawan-kawan dia sembang. So my wife pun macam takkan nak advise budak ni untuk pergi main game kan. So that is not a good advice juga. So it's difficult. So the I think the issues with everything is, I think it's not just school children, even among doctors, and numbers of suicidal young doctors are increasing in trend. Dulu, I must say, I'm not saying my age, your age, no, I'm just showing a trend. So dulu kan, kalau setakat houseman ni kan, kena balik, kena campak. I used to, one of my specialist pernah scolded me loudly. Alah, kita dulu tu kena panggil stupid apa semua kan. Kita gelak je sebab kita tahu patient pun faham kan. I think we just take it with a pinch of salt pun kan. Tapi sekarang ni kena marah sikit, ada yang sampai suicidal. So I think this is a problem. This is a problem because we don't have that physical and mental strength anymore. Sekarang ni tu dia ada kata people nowadays are snowflakes, senang cair dan sebagainya. So okay, fine. Mana kita pergi ni, we are out of the nutrition and growth punya topik dah. So fine. So 11% of adults and 5% of children were found to have disability. This is Malaysian number. 5% of Malaysian children were found to have disability. This is a huge number. So again, issues with nutrition and growth, this is a global issue. At least 1 in 3 children under 5 is undernourished or overweight, and 1 in 2 suffers from hidden hunger. So undermining the capacity of millions of children to grow and develop to their full potential. Hidden hunger means dia tak ada, it's almost like macam micronutrient deficiency. So globally, at least 1 in 3 children under 5 is not growing well due to malnutrition, and in its more visible form. Maknanya ni yang 1 in 3 ni yang malnutrition yang very visible, we can see, we can assess very clearly. Macam mana stunting, maknanya growth dia doesn't achieve the proper height, wasting and underweight and overweight. So maknanya underweight is a problem, overweight also is a problem. This is worldwide. Globally, at least 1 in 2 children under 5 suffers from hidden hunger due to deficiencies in vitamins and other essential nutrients. So 1 in 2 children. So they don't show the signs of hunger, but they are undernourished in very, very essential nutrients. And undernutrition continues to exert heavy toll. In 2018, almost 200 million children under 5 suffered from stunting or wasting, while at least 340 million suffered from hidden hunger. So this is a huge issue. While kita kat Malaysia, kita makan, kita buang. Makan sikit, buang. On call punya food, buang. Overweight and obesity continues to rise. From 2000 in 2016, proportion of overweight children rose from 1 in 10 to almost 1 in 5. Daripada 2000, 1 in 10, 2016, 1 in 5. So it's a huge, it's double increment. Number of stunted children has declined in all continents except in Africa. So stunted pun dah decline in all continents except Africa, while number of overweight children has increased in all continents, including in Africa. Why? Because we are getting the unhealthy food is becoming more cheaper and more accessible. Triple burden. So triple burden is actually triple burden of malnutrition is driven by poor quality of children's diets. 2 in 3 children not fed by the minimum recommended diverse diet for healthy growth and development. Triple burden ni yang tadi itulah stunting, wasting and overweight. So 2 in 5 infants under 6 of age are exclusively breastfed as recommended. So breastfeeding, we know it saves life, but the thing is only 2 in 5 infants given proper breast milk. Use of breast milk substitute is of concern. So sales of breast milk-based formula is growing actually, despite we are recommending more breastfeeding sepatutnya, tapi the sale is actually increasing. So you know that breastfeeding actually reduces the risk of childhood obesity. breastfeeding reduces the risk of adult obesity. Breastfeeding reduces the risk of cardiovascular events at adulthood. Breastfeeding actually improve your satiety center. So breastfeeding actually helps to your satiety center to be better. So you will feel full a bit faster than those that are formula fed. So 44% of children aged 6 to 23 months are not fed fruits or vegetable. Kan? Sampai adult pun tak makan vegetable lagi. Kan? And 59% are not fed with eggs, dairy, fish or meat. Very poor nutrition. Only 1 in 5 children aged 6 to 23 months from the poorest households and rural areas is fed with the minimum recommended diverse diet for healthy growth and brain. This is the minimum. This is not even adequate. We are saying minimum. And many school-going adolescents consume highly processed food, nuggets, sausages, all benda-benda macam tu. 42% drink carbonated soft drinks at least once per day, and 46% eat fast food at least once per week. Macam you are a student lah. Kan? Sebab nak makan luar tak boleh, kadang susah. So senang Food Panda, KFC, McD, tak habis kan. So triple burden. So undernutrition, stunting, wasting, deficiency, macronutrient deficiency, and overweight. Effects of globalization. So ni yang I mentioned before as well. Globalization actually affects the nutrition and sebabnya what happens with globalization, people can get easy access to benda-benda yang unhealthy, KFC, McDonald's, so on and so forth. Globalization shaping food options and choice. 77% of processed food sales worldwide controlled by just 100 large firm. Company sama aja. Kan? In cities, many portion live in food deserts, facing an absence of healthy food options. And or food swarms, confronted with abundance of high calorie, low nutrient processed foods. So the lower the income, the more accessible to unhealthy food. Kan? Yang healthy food ni semua kat mana? Kat group yang higher income punya community. Poor families tend to select low quality food that cost less because poverty and exclusion. And the most disadvantaged children face the greatest risk from all form of nutrition. Let me see. I don't know if we can see this. Problem. Fine. So there are several. Okay, medical student especially, you need to know your growth charts. Dia ada banyak type of growth charts. Ada Fenton growth chart. Fenton growth chart ni dia akan you tengok growth chart dia daripada premature age from 24 weeker. So contohnya kalau baby born 24 weeker, we can plot sampai dia punya corrected gestational age. Kan? Kita boleh plot. Sebab sometimes kalau growth chart tu begins at 0, 1 month apa semua. So macam mana you nak tengok dia punya kat mana which centile the patient is in. Kalau dia born premature for example. So with Fenton growth chart, kita boleh plotkan growth chart tu daripada how many weeks gestation. So kita kena plot height, weight and head circumference. I should have this example. I don't know why. I think the problem because my problem just now. Fine. So you need to know your growth chart. So nanti next time bila you join our clinical rotation, make sure that you look at the growth charts. Make sure that you familiarize yourself with growth chart punya plotting, because when you go for exam, I can tell you, if you go for exam, we expect you to plot the growth chart. Medical students for pediatric posting, you mesti plot growth chart. You should, if you don't plot growth chart for long case, for modified long case, if you do not plot the growth chart, you should fail. If you do not plot the growth chart, you should fail. And not just that, even theory exam, growth chart ni selalu masuk theory exam. Kita bagi growth chart, kita dah plot semua. So kita ask you, apa diagnosis dia, for example, failure to thrive ke, apa ke, because of poor weaning ke, inadequate weaning dan sebagainya. So you need to know the growth chart, you need to plot the growth chart. And growth chart ni dia ada Fenton growth chart yang boleh nampak ikut dia punya gestational age. You have the IHDP yang mulai daripada 0, or you have the Down syndrome growth chart. And growth chart ni dia differ, male female pun differ. Kan? So you need to know the growth chart, you need to know how to plot the growth charts. Sorry lah, I have the example but I don't know what I can show it. So this is worldwide prevalence. So Malaysia is among the country yang under yellow punya lah. So we are not actually clear lagi. Undernutrition continues to affect tens of millions of children, and these children that are undernourished carry the burden of early stunting for the rest of their lives because it affects from the beginning. Daripada if you're undernourished, it affects many things. It affects your neurological development as well. Evident by the wasted bodies of children, and there are food shortages, poor feeding practices, and infection because they were undernourished. They're easy to get infection, compounded more by poverty, humanitarian crisis, conflict, and so on and so forth. So 149 million children under 5 were stunted, and almost 50 million children worldwide are wasted. And the number of this comes from Malaysia as well. You know, have you seen patients with scurvy? Tahu tak scurvy? Do you know what is scurvy? Siapa tahu scurvy? What is scurvy?
Deficiency of vitamin C.
Vitamin C deficiency. Okay. Do you know that we have a patient with vitamin C deficiency? We in SASMEC, we have a patient with vitamin C deficiency. So can you imagine, in this age, in Malaysia, we still have patients with vitamin C deficiency. And I'm not talking about orang asli population. I'm not talking about those rural area. I'm talking about Malay children living in a proper housing estate and still comes down with vitamin C deficiency, scurvy. And not just that, because this case we discussed with people in HKN, in Selayang, and so on and so forth. So apparently, recently, for the past 1 year alone, there's 5 Malaysian children diagnosed with scurvy. Malaysia diagnosed with scurvy. Can you imagine? Vitamin C deficiency. Vitamin C is so easily accessible. It's cheap, but still we have children coming down with vitamin C deficiency. This child presented with inability to walk for few months, multiple admission to multiple hospitals. Dia duduk dekat near Jengka, Temerloh, Lipis, semua dah seen this child, multiple visits to doctors. No one thinks Malaysia will have patient with scurvy. Finally come to UIA, we did many investigation, and voila, this is a vitamin C deficiency. Started vitamin C and the child is improving. Sekarang dah discharge under our occupational therapy, dah start boleh jalan sikit dah. Can you imagine? Vitamin C deficiency in Malaysia. Kwashiorkor, marasmus, diseases that we don't think should still be present in Malaysia. But what we had was a clear textbook vitamin C deficiency. We still see rickets, patients with rickets. I think this is a problem that we think is easy, but then we still see all this in Malaysia. So hidden hunger, what is hidden hunger? Deficiencies of essential vitamins and minerals, often referred to as micronutrients. These are all micronutrients. They rob the children of their vitality at every stage of life and undermine the health and well-being of children, young people, and women. This heavy toll, because hidden hunger, they don't show the signs of hunger. Yeah? Instead by the fact that hidden hunger is rarely noticed until it is too late to do anything. Tak sempat nak buat apa-apa dah. Macam patient tu lah, very difficult nak treat balik. It's gonna be slow. The numbers of children by affected by hidden hunger are striking. So UNICEF estimate 340 million children under 5 suffer from micronutrient deficiency. 340 million worldwide suffer from micronutrient deficiency. Overweight and obesity. Number of obese boys and girls between age 5 and 19 soared 10 to 12 fold. Makin lama makin naik in Malaysia as well. Obesity, childhood obesity is increasing in many folds. Overweight dulu long thought as a condition. Dulu kita ingat orang kaya je yang gemuk-gemuk ni, kan? Tapi actually it is now a problem of the poor. Why? Because availability of cheap calories. Sekarang ni yang more fit are richer people. Dulu obesity, dulu if you look at Egypt for example, the sign that you are well off is you are fat. Dulu in Egypt kan, kalau dia nak kahwinkan dia nak tengok orang lelaki yang gemuk, sebab bila gemuk tu tanda kaya kan. Perut buncit maknanya the more buncit you are, the more well off you are kan. That was the understanding in Egypt before kan. Tapi sekarang ni the richer you are, the more fit you are. Sebab apa? You boleh beli basikal yang harga ribu tu kan. Bila you beli basikal harga ribu takkan simpan kat rumah, you kenalah pergi ni kan. Lepas tu nak pergi naik basikal, takkan bawa basikal je, takkan nak pakai baju biasa kan, kena beli baju fit tu yang mahal-mahal tu. So basikal dah mahal ribu-ribu, baju fit tu ketat-ketat tu kan pun mahal-mahal juga kan. Lepas tu takkan nak pakai baju tu, kena beli helmet dia, kena beli lampu dia, semua everything is very expensive. Kena jalan, lepas tu kena ada ni, lepas tu kena ada meter, lepas tu time PKP tak boleh keluar, ada mesin untuk tengok distance kita buat dalam rumah je kan, tapi how many kilometers we cycle. So everything is expensive. So the richer you are, the more fit, the more physically fit you are sekarang ni kan. But the poorer you are, the more fat you are. Why? Because you don't have time to exercise, because all the time you have, you need to work, and cheaper food are unhealthy food. So now overweight, obesity is a problem of the poor. It's the problem of the poor. So why? And then it increases, heighten the risk of non-communicable disease, type 2 diabetes, chronic heart disease. Dah lah dia miskin, lepas tu senang dapat sakit pula kan. So when they are sick, they can't work, they reduce their productivity and so on and so forth. And this problem begins from the child. So these are essential nutrients of human diet. You can see all those things. Malnutrition across the lifespan. So malnutrition is not just after birth, it begins from the very beginning, at the embryo or fetal life. So common nutritional disorders such as IUGR, iodine deficiency. So iodine deficiency, folate deficiency. So main consequence dia apa? Low birth weight, neurological sequelae, neural tube defect, stillbirth. At neonatal age, low birth weight, what is IDD? I can't remember. Fine. So there's growth retardation, and then developmental retardation, brain damage, early anemia, infant and young children, protein energy malnutrition. I will get back to this. Vitamin A deficiency, iron deficiency anemia. So these are all the problems, like goiter and so on and so forth. If you remember, I think last month, DG, Dr. Norisham, he mentioned something about iodinized salt. So now in Malaysia, so he's mentioning about the need for iodinized salt. So garam tu kena ada iodine. So sekarang in Malaysia we are going back to the times where our salt should be iodinized. So among the method untuk combat iodine deficiency ni, dia iodine deficiency disorder, IDD. Kan? Maknanya apa? Dia tambah iodine dalam salt. Actually dulu pun if you go to Middle East countries memang ada iodinized salt ni. Tapi in Malaysia dulu kita ada. Sekarang ni waktu dah lama dah kita, sebab kita ingat iodine deficiency in Malaysia is a settled problem. Tapi rupanya we still have iodine deficiency disorder. So DG mention sekarang in Malaysia salt sepatutnya be iodinized. Sebab kita nak improve the iodine intake. And then pregnancy, so these are all the problems, folate deficiency, calcium deficiency. So apa? Maternal anemia and so on and so forth, and adults and older person. Maternal malnutrition and IUGR. So maternal issue, bila mother tak have proper nutrition, the effect is children will have the IUGR issue. So IUGR, intrauterine growth retardation, is a major clinical and public health problem in developing countries, including Malaysia. I think every week we'll have at least few babies admitted in our NICU because of IUGR. Estimated 30 million newborns, 23% of 126 million births per year are affected by IUGR. In developed countries, only 2%. When I was working in UK, the number of IUGR is actually not that high. But in Malaysia, the number is very, very high. Maternal malnutrition is the major determinant of IUGR in developing countries, including Malaysia, as evidenced by low gestational weight gain, low pre-pregnancy body mass index, and short maternal stature. Kita orang Malaysia dah lah short daripada beginning, genetically we are short. Lepas tu malnourished lagi, so that's causing more problem. Maternal anemia, GI and respiratory infections, malaria, cigarette smoking, all are important etiological factors. So one good thing in Malaysia is cigarette smoking, even though the number is still high, but generally in Malaysia, cigarette smoking is seen as something that is bad in Malaysia, which is good lah. So IUGR significantly increase risk for the infant and young child, increases malnutrition, increases morbidity, mortality, poor cognitive and neurological development, just because of maternal malnutrition. So maternal malnutrition can cause cognitive and neurological punya problem in the child. Also increase the risk of developing certain disease later in life. Maknanya IUGR ni associated with increment in later punya adult punya diseases such as cardiovascular disease, high blood pressure, COPD, diabetes, renal disease. So it is associated with with IUGR, and IUGR is among the most important factor is maternal malnutrition. So nutrition is very, very essential for growth, development and health. And nutrition history is important in cracking. So again, I mentioned before, medical student, few things I expect. First, I always expect you to plot the growth chart properly. It is never acceptable in pediatric posting for you to not plot the growth chart. And bila you present, you jangan present, okay, this patient is 20 kilos weight, 100 centimeter height, head circumference is berapa centimeter. Yes, that is important, but more important is where does it fall under the growth chart. For example, the weight is 20 kilos, which falls under 50th centile or just below 50th centile. So which centile does it fall on? Kalau dia low, you kena tengok pada trend dia. Dia drop ke, dia cross centile. Kalau dia drop 2 centile, we know that it is a failure to thrive. Kan? Poor weight gain. So maknanya dia growing tapi poor weight gain. Dia tak go according to the line. Kalau dia go, nanti kita tengok biar ada growth chart, kita tengok. Kalau dia go according to line, maknanya dia proper weight gain lah, walaupun dia below. Tapi kalau dia start dah plateauing, dia naik tapi dia start to plateau, dia tak go. Kalau chart dia macam tu kan, I should have my growth chart lah. Kalau dia naik macam tu tapi growth dia macam turun, that's poor weight gain. Kalau dah start cross 2 centile, that is failure to thrive. So plotting proper growth chart is very, very important. Another important aspect of your presentation is nutritional history. Medical students selalu miss proper nutritional history. So nutritional history ni you kena clear lah. Dia breastfeeding eksklusif sampai bila? Bila dia start weaning? What type of weaning? Dia weaning dengan apa? Kan? So sekarang dah macam mana? You tak boleh kata normal adult diet. Normal adult diet ni is ambiguous juga. Kan? Adult diet, ada adult yang tak makan sayur, ada adult yang tak makan ni. So you need to have more idea. Especially kalau the disease is nutritional punya related disease. For example, if you have a child with diabetes, obviously you need a very detailed punya nutritional history, kan? Berapa portion of carbohydrate dia makan, berapa banyak portion protein, berapa banyak portion fat, berapa banyak portion sugary drinks, berapa kali dia minum sugary drinks, apa dia punya meal pattern dekat sekolah, kan? So all these are important elements of your nutritional history. So again, medical student, pediatric posting, we expect you to get detailed nutritional history. Always get the anthropometric measurement. More importantly, plot in the growth chart. Again, if you do not plot the growth chart, you should fail. Okay? Look at the patient as a whole, not just physical aspect, not just the disease, but look at the nutritional aspect, the growth, development, social, and things. Okay, right. Any question? Clear? Faham? Tidur lah ke?
Faham doktor.
Any question?
Yes, Doctor, faham.
Doctor, I have a question.
Yes.
So regarding the trend, how do you get the trend? Like, do you collect multiple data to see the trend? Because like, how do we know if it's plateauing or increasing?
So few ways. First is if the child is already under our follow-up, so we should be able to see the trend lah. Kan? Maknanya prospectively we'll see the trend. That's one thing. The secondly, if it's the first time you see the child, you need to get information. One good thing is in children we have the buku-buku kanak-kanak tu, home-based card, home-based book. So with that book memang ada someone yang plot yang ada measure dia punya height, weight and so on so forth. Ada orang plot, ada growth chart pun dekat belakang dia. So you can look at that. But ideally we need to plot on our own growth chart. So growth chart kita tengoklah daripada buku baby tu ada height dia macam mana, ada weight dia, you plot. Look at the trend. But the problem is this book ni sometimes sampai 5 years old je. Kan? So after that sometimes tak ada orang plot. So that is the problem. And not just plotting lah, you kena tengok juga. So certain disease you nak kena tengok parental punya height, for example. Kan kalau patient tu is stunted, you need to look at parental height. Kalau mak bapak dua-dua dah tak cukup inci kan, you don't expect the child to be high. Kan? Because the growth chart tu is according to the population lah. It's according to the population.
Okay, thank you, Doctor.
Okay. Any question? Any other question? Any other question? No. Okay. All right. Fine. So I think if everything is clear, so I expect if you don't plot growth chart, remember, not plotting growth chart, you should fail. Okay. All right. Let's end our session with tasbih kafarah. Okay. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.